In the icy grip of winter, a German shepherd lay helpless on a desolate street corner, his once majestic coat now matted and scarred. Abandoned, frail, and clinging to the last shred of hope, he seemed destined to fade away unnoticed. But then, a kind-hearted police officer crossed his path. What happened next will warm your heart and restore your faith in second chances. Join us as we uncover Buddy's incredible journey from despair to redemption. The bitter winter wind swept through the small town of Mountain View, Colorado, leaving every surface coated in a thick layer of snow and ice. Officer Lisa Taylor maneuvered her patrol car carefully down the slick roads, her sharp hazel eyes scanning the streets for any signs of trouble. The quiet hum of the heater was her only company as the town lay silent, blanketed by the harsh grip of winter. Mountain View was a close-knit community where everyone knew everyone. But even here, the winter months could be unforgiving. Lisa had grown accustomed to these night patrols, the isolation broken only by the occasional radio chatter. Tonight felt colder, lonelier somehow, and Lisa found herself gripping the steering wheel a little tighter, her thoughts drifting aimlessly. As she turned onto a less traveled road near the town's outskirts, her headlights caught movement along the snowbank. Slowing down, Lisa peered through the frosted windshield and squinted. A shadowy figure moved unsteadily along the side of the road. At first, she thought it might be a deer, but as she inched closer, the figure's shape became clearer, a dog. Lisa eased the car to a stop and turned on her hazard lights. Her breath fogged in the freezing air as she stepped out, pulling her coat tighter around her. The dog stopped in its tracks and looked back at her. Even in the dim light, Lisa could see that it was a large German shepherd. Its black and tan coat was matted with snow and ice, and its thin frame suggested it hadn't eaten well in days. The dog stood frozen, watching her with wary amber eyes. Lisa's heart sank at the sight. She had seen stray animals before, but this one had an air of quiet desperation that tugged at her deeply. "Hey there, buddy," Lisa called softly, crouching down to make herself appear less intimidating. Her voice carried a calm, soothing tone, one she often used with frightened people in her line of work. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." The dog flinched slightly but didn't run. Lisa kept her movements slow and deliberate, reaching into her pocket for a granola bar she had brought along for emergencies. She peeled back the wrapper and held out a small piece in her gloved hand. "Come on," she coaxed gently. "You look like you could use this." For a long moment, the dog remained rooted in place, its body tense, as though caught between the urge to flee and the faint glimmer of trust. Then it took a cautious step forward. Lisa stayed perfectly still, her hand outstretched, letting the dog approach at its own pace. As it drew closer, Lisa noticed more details. The faint scar around its neck, as if it had once worn a collar, and the sores on its legs from exposure to the elements. The dog sniffed her hand hesitantly before taking the granola piece with trembling jaws. Up close, Lisa could see the weariness etched into its face, but there was also something else in its eyes, a spark of hope however faint. "There you go," she murmured softly, reaching out to gently stroke the dog's head. It flinched slightly at her touch but didn't pull away. Lisa felt the rough cold fur under her gloved fingers and frowned. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" The dog's tail wagged faintly, a weak but unmistakable sign of gratitude. Lisa smiled despite the ache in her chest. "Well, I can't leave you out here," she said, straightening up. "Let's get you somewhere warm." As she turned to open the back door of her patrol car, she heard a soft whimper behind her. Turning quickly, she saw the dog's legs buckle under its weight. It collapsed onto the snowy ground, its body trembling from the cold and exhaustion. "Hey!" Lisa exclaimed, rushing to its side. She knelt down, her heart pounding as she gently placed a hand on the dog's side. Its chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths, and its eyes fluttered closed. "Stay with me, buddy," she urged, her voice thick with worry. Shrugging off her coat, Lisa draped it over the dog's fragile body, shielding it from the biting wind. She didn't hesitate as she scooped the dog into her arms. It was heavier than it looked, but Lisa managed to lift it, cradling it carefully as she carried it to the patrol car. "Hang in there," she murmured as she placed the dog on the back seat, wrapping her coat snugly around it. "You're going to be okay." Sliding into the driver's seat, Lisa turned the heater up to full blast and glanced in the rearview mirror. The dog lay motionless, its breathing shallow but steady. She tapped the steering wheel nervously, her mind racing. "What am I supposed to do with you now?" she muttered. Despite the uncertainty, Lisa knew one thing for sure: she couldn't abandon the dog. For the rest of the drive, she kept glancing back at the silent figure in her rearview mirror. As she turned toward the town's veterinary clinic, she whispered to herself, "I guess I'll call you Buddy." The name felt right, and for the first time that night, Lisa felt a small flicker of hope. Lisa Taylor sat in her patrol car, the engine humming softly as the warmth of the heater filled the cabin. She glanced over her shoulder at the fragile figure lying on the back seat. Buddy, the name she had instinctively given the German Shepherd, remained motionless under her coat, his shallow breaths visible in the cold air. The thought of taking him to the town's animal shelter gnawed at her conscience. The shelter was overcrowded and underfunded, a harsh reality of small-town resources. The idea of leaving Buddy there, vulnerable and possibly alone, didn't sit right with her. She hesitated for a moment, fingers tapping nervously against the steering wheel, before making a decision. Buddy wasn't going to the shelter. He was coming home with her. Lisa pulled into the driveway of her modest bungalow on the outskirts of Mountain View. Snow had piled up on the walkway leading to her door, and the soft glow from her porch light illuminated the frozen night. Grabbing a thick blanket from her car trunk, she carefully bundled Buddy in it before lifting him into her arms. His body felt unnervingly light, a testament to how malnourished he was. Inside, the warmth of the house was a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. Lisa gently laid Buddy on a soft folded comforter near the fireplace, which she quickly lit to provide additional heat. She crouched beside him, her hand brushing over his matted fur. "You're safe now," she murmured. Buddy didn't stir much, but his amber eyes flickered open for a brief moment. Lisa thought she saw gratitude in them before they closed again. The following day, Lisa's decision quickly became the talk of the neighborhood. Word spread fast in Mountain View, especially when it came to Officer Taylor, known for her strict adherence to rules. The idea of her bending protocol by taking in a stray dog left people surprised. And curious. Her neighbor, Mrs. Clark, a warm but nosy elderly woman, was the first to visit. Knocking on Lisa's door early that morning, she peered inside with a raised eyebrow as Lisa answered. "Good heavens, Lisa, is that a dog in your living room? Did the station approve this?" Lisa sighed, smiling politely. "Good morning to you too, Mrs. Clark. No, it wasn't a formal decision. He needed help and the shelter's full. I couldn't just leave him out there." Mrs. Clark studied Buddy, who was now lying on the comforter with his head resting on his paws. His large expressive eyes watched her warily. "Well, aren't you a handsome fellow?" she said softly, her tone shifting. "Looks like he's had it rough." Lisa nodded. "I'll take care of him until he's strong enough to figure out what's next. He's not going back out there." The older woman gave a small, approving smile. "You've got a big heart, dear. If you need help, just holler. I'm a sucker for a happy ending." In the days that followed, Lisa realized just how extraordinary Buddy was. Despite his weakened state, he demonstrated an intelligence and calmness that astonished her. On his second night in the house, Lisa was startled awake by the sound of Buddy whimpering in his sleep. She rushed to his side, finding him twitching and yelping softly as though caught in a nightmare. Hey, it's okay," Lisa whispered, kneeling down beside him and gently stroking his head. Buddy woke with a start, his breathing ragged, but as soon as he saw her, he relaxed. His tail thumped weakly against the comforter. The moment struck Lisa deeply. Buddy trusted her. It wasn't something she took lightly. She began to notice the small ways he responded to her presence, how his eyes followed her around the room, or how his tail wagged whenever she spoke. As Buddy regained his strength, his intelligence became even more apparent. One morning, Lisa accidentally left the back door slightly ajar while bringing in groceries. By the time she noticed, Buddy was gone. Panic gripped her as she ran outside, calling his name. She found him a few moments later in the backyard, sitting patiently by the gate. He hadn't run off, he'd simply gone out to explore but stayed close to her home. "Good boy, Buddy," she said, kneeling to wrap her arms around him. Buddy licked her cheek, his tail wagging energetically for the first time. The bond between them was growing, and Lisa couldn't deny the comfort he brought to her otherwise solitary life. Taking care of Buddy brought changes to Lisa's daily routine, but she welcomed them. Every morning before heading to the station, she made sure he had fresh water and food. She also set up a cozy bed for him in the corner of the living room, though Buddy often ended up snoozing near the fireplace. Lisa's colleagues were equally surprised when they heard about Buddy. Her partner, Officer Mark Evans, teased her during their patrol shift. "Lisa Taylor, breaking rules for a dog. What's next, sneaking donuts from the precinct?" She smirked, rolling her eyes. "Very funny, Mark. It's temporary. He needed help and I couldn't leave him out there." "Temporary, huh?" Mark raised an eyebrow. "The way you're talking, it sounds like he's already part of the family." Lisa didn't respond right away, but deep down, she knew Mark wasn't entirely wrong. One evening, as Lisa sat on the couch with a book in her hands, Buddy surprised her. He padded over to her, his steps steadier now, and placed his head on her lap. She set the book aside and gently scratched behind his ears. "You know," she said softly, "I thought I was helping you. But maybe you're the one helping me." In her years as a police officer, Lisa had seen more than her share of hardship. She often found it difficult to let her guard down, even at home. But with Buddy, things felt different. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a sense of mutual healing that neither of them had anticipated. Buddy's presence filled a void in Lisa's life that she hadn't realized was there. As she watched him drift off to sleep by the fireplace that night, his body rising and falling in peaceful rhythm, Lisa felt a sense of contentment she hadn't experienced in years. She had taken a bold risk bringing Buddy home, but now, she couldn't imagine life without him. As the days turned into weeks, Buddy's condition improved under Lisa's care. His once dull and matted coat began to regain its sheen, and his frail frame filled out with the steady meals and warmth of a secure home. Lisa couldn't help but marvel at how resilient Buddy was, but there was something else about him. Something unusual. One chilly morning, Lisa decided to take Buddy for his first walk since his recovery. She attached a simple leash to the new collar she had bought him and led him outside. The streets were quiet, with the snow crunching under their steps. As they walked, Buddy seemed unusually attentive to his surroundings. His ears perked up at faint sounds, his posture alert and precise. He moved with a focus that Lisa found remarkable. Curious, she tested him. "Sit," she said casually. Not expecting much. To her surprise, Buddy obeyed instantly, sitting upright and still, his amber eyes locked on her. Lisa blinked in astonishment. "Stay," she added, stepping a few feet away. Again, Buddy complied without hesitation, remaining perfectly in place. Lisa crouched down and gestured for him to come. "Come here, Buddy." He responded immediately, trotting over with practiced precision. "That's impressive," Lisa muttered, studying him with a mix of admiration and confusion. She had grown up around dogs, but Buddy's response to her commands felt too refined, too professional. Back at home, Lisa began to notice more subtle signs. Buddy seemed to understand routines without needing guidance. He would wait patiently at the door whenever she grabbed her keys and would lie down near the fireplace as soon as she settled on the couch. More intriguing was how he reacted to certain objects, particularly the sound of her police radio. Whenever it crackled to life, Buddy's ears would twitch, and he'd tilt his head as if listening for something familiar. One evening, as she was brushing his coat, Lisa's fingers traced over a faint scar around his neck. She had noticed it before but hadn't thought much of it in the chaos of his rescue. Now, with Buddy's behavior raising so many questions, the scar seemed like a key to a story she didn't yet understand. "Where did you come from, Buddy?" she asked aloud, her voice soft. Buddy lifted his head, his intelligent eyes meeting hers, as though he could comprehend the question. Lisa chuckled and shook her head. "You've got secrets, don't you?" Lisa's curiosity drove her to dig deeper. On her day off, she visited the local veterinary clinic where Dr. Grayson, the vet who had initially treated Buddy, worked. She explained her observations to him, including Buddy's advanced response to commands and the scar around his neck. Dr. Grayson nodded thoughtfully as he examined Buddy. "He's definitely been trained," he confirmed. "This level of obedience doesn't happen by accident. That scar. It could be from a collar, but it's hard to say for sure. Have you thought about checking for a microchip?" Lisa hadn't, but the idea made sense. After a quick scan, the vet found one. The number led to a national database, revealing that Buddy had once been registered to a family in Denver. The information listed Buddy as a rescue dog trained in search and recovery operations. Lisa's jaw dropped as Dr. Grayson read the details aloud. According to the records, Buddy had been part of a program that trained dogs to assist in locating missing persons. However, during a rescue operation 2 years ago, Buddy had gone missing himself. The notes in the file were sparse, but they mentioned a major accident, likely the same event that had separated Buddy from his handlers. Lisa sat in her car outside the clinic, staring at the printout of Buddy's records. She couldn't shake the image of him alone, wandering for years after the accident. How many miles had he traveled? How many nights had he spent hungry and cold, searching for a familiar face? The thought made her heart ache. She glanced at Buddy, who was sitting calmly in the passenger seat, his head slightly tilted as if sensing her thoughts. "You've been through so much," she whispered. "But you survived." She decided to contact the original handlers listed in the records. A phone call to the organization confirmed her suspicions. Buddy had been declared lost after the accident. The handler who had trained him, a man named Paul Hayes, had searched for weeks but eventually had to give up. "He was one of the best dogs I've ever worked with," Paul said over the phone. "It broke my heart to lose him. I'm just glad he's alive." Paul's voice trembled as he expressed gratitude for Lisa's care. He told her he no longer worked with the rescue program but still held deep affection for Buddy. "You're giving him a second chance," he said. "That's all I could ever hope for." Armed with this newfound knowledge, Lisa looked at Buddy with fresh eyes. He wasn't just any stray. He was a dog who had once been a hero, whose life had been shaped by courage and loyalty. But his time wandering alone had left scars, both physical and emotional. Lisa could see it in the way he flinched at sudden movements or froze when he heard loud noises. Determined to help Buddy heal, Lisa began incorporating small training sessions into their daily routine. Using gentle encouragement and positive reinforcement, she worked to rebuild his confidence. It wasn't just about teaching him commands, it was about reminding him that he was safe and loved. One evening, as they practiced in the backyard, Buddy surprised her. She had thrown a stick for him to fetch, and instead of simply retrieving it, he dropped it at her feet and sat, his tail wagging. Lisa laughed, ruffling his ears. "You're showing off now, aren't you?" For the first time Buddy barked, a short happy sound that made Lisa grin. It was as if he was telling her he was ready to move forward. The nights became quieter, less lonely with Buddy by her side. Lisa often found herself reflecting on how much he had been through and how far he had come. Every small victory, whether it was Buddy wagging his tail or sleeping peacefully by the fire, felt like a step toward something greater. Lisa couldn't change the hardships Buddy had faced, but she could ensure his future was filled with love and stability. More than that, she realized that Buddy had brought something unexpected into her own life. A sense of purpose and connection she hadn't felt in years. As Buddy lay curled up at her feet that night, his eyes half closed in contentment, Lisa knew she had made the right choice. Buddy's past might have been filled with pain and loss, but together, they were building something new. Something strong. And for the first time in a long while, Lisa felt that they were both exactly where they were meant to be. The first rays of morning sunlight peeked through the frost-covered windows of Lisa's living room. Buddy lay stretched out on his designated spot near the fireplace, his chest rising and falling steadily. He looked more at peace now than when Lisa had first brought him home. But there was still a long way to go. Lisa knew that Buddy's journey of recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. His past had left invisible scars, but she was determined to help him heal. Every morning before her shift, Lisa took Buddy on short walks around the neighborhood. At first, his steps were hesitant, his body still weak from months of malnutrition and neglect. But day by day his gait grew steadier, and his energy began to return. Lisa increased the length of their walks gradually, taking him to parks and trails where he could explore safely. "Good boy, Buddy," she praised him often. Her voice filled with encouragement as he trotted beside her. She noticed that his tail wagged more frequently now, and his amber eyes no longer held the same wariness as before. Lisa also incorporated light training exercises to help rebuild Buddy's confidence. She set up small obstacles in the backyard, cones to weave through, ramps to climb, and toys to fetch. Buddy, ever the quick learner, adapted easily. With each successful task, his demeanor shifted, his pride evident in the way he carried himself. "You're amazing, you know that?" Lisa said one afternoon, ruffling his ears after he completed a tricky set of commands. Buddy licked her hand in response, his bond with her growing stronger every day. Beyond the physical exercises, Lisa made an effort to provide Buddy with emotional comfort. She was patient when loud noises startled him or when he froze at the sight of strangers. Slowly, she introduced him to her neighbors and coworkers, always staying by his side to reassure him. One evening, as Lisa sat on the couch reading a book, Buddy approached her. He rested his head on her lap, his eyes filled with a quiet trust that melted her heart. "You're safe now, Buddy," she whispered, stroking his head gently. "No one's ever going to hurt you again." As Buddy's strength and confidence grew, Lisa began noticing something remarkable. He wasn't just recovering. He was thriving. His intelligence and sharp instincts made him a natural partner in her work as a police officer. One day, Lisa decided to test his potential. She brought him to an open field and tossed a tennis ball far into the distance. Buddy bolted after it with precision and speed, returning it to her with a proud gleam in his eyes. "You've got the makings of a true hero," Lisa said, laughing as Buddy barked in agreement. Encouraged by his progress, Lisa started involving him in her daily routines at work. While he wasn't an official K-9 officer, his presence during community patrols brought smiles to residents' faces. Children especially adored him, often running up to pet him while Lisa ensured he remained calm and gentle. Buddy's instincts truly shone one cold December evening. Lisa was responding to a burglary call at a local store. Arriving on the scene, she found broken glass scattered across the sidewalk and faint footprints leading away from the building. The suspect had fled, and the only witness, A young boy who had hidden in the store during the incident was shaken and unable to provide clear details. Lisa crouched next to the boy, speaking to him in a calm, soothing tone. "It's okay. You're safe now," she assured him. Buddy, sensing the boy's distress, gently nuzzled his hand. The small gesture brought a smile to the boy's face, helping him relax enough to describe the direction the suspect had gone. Acting quickly, Lisa called for backup and began following the trail. Buddy, ever alert, sniffed the air and led her toward a narrow alleyway. His ears perked up, his body tensing as they approached. Suddenly, a figure darted out from the shadows, attempting to escape. Buddy reacted instantly, barking loudly to alert Lisa and blocking the suspect's path. The commotion startled the man, causing him to stumble. Lisa seized the opportunity, apprehending him without further incident. As she cuffed the suspect, Buddy stood by her side, his posture protective yet composed. The young boy, now reunited with his family, ran up to Buddy and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Buddy," he said softly. Lisa couldn't help but smile, her pride in Buddy overwhelming. News of Buddy's heroic actions spread quickly throughout Mountain View. Local residents praised the rescued dog who became a rescuer, and Buddy's story warmed hearts across the community. Lisa received numerous messages from neighbors offering treats and toys for Buddy, and even her fellow officers couldn't resist stopping by to see the town's new hero. "You've got yourself quite the partner," Officer Mark Evans said with a grin one morning at the station. "He's already more popular than any of us." Lisa laughed. "He's earned it." As Buddy lay by the fireplace that evening, Lisa sat beside him, her hand resting on his soft fur. "You've come a long way, Buddy," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You didn't just find a home, you found a purpose." Buddy's eyes met hers, and in that moment, Lisa felt a profound connection. He wasn't just a dog. He was a friend, a partner, and a symbol of resilience. For Lisa, helping Buddy heal had been an act of compassion. But in the process, Buddy had given her something she hadn't realized she needed. A renewed sense of purpose and an unwavering belief in the power of second chances. As the fire crackled and snow fell gently outside, Lisa knew one thing for certain: Buddy wasn't just part of her life, he had transformed it. Lisa's decision to bring Buddy into her home had not gone unnoticed within the police department. While many admired her compassion, some colleagues expressed concerns about the proper procedures for adopting a stray dog, especially given her role as a law enforcement officer. One afternoon, Captain Reynolds called Lisa into his office. The room was adorned with commendations and photographs from various community events, reflecting the department's commitment to both law enforcement and public service. "Lisa," he began, his tone measured, "I've heard about Buddy and the remarkable bond you've formed. However, some protocols need to be addressed to ensure everything is handled appropriately." Lisa nodded, understanding the importance of adhering to departmental policies. "I appreciate your guidance, Captain. I'm more than willing to follow any necessary procedures to make Buddy's adoption official." Captain Reynolds leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. It's not uncommon for officers to encounter situations involving stray animals. While there's no specific prohibition against adopting a stray, it's crucial to follow proper channels to avoid setting unintended precedents. He continued. "You'll need to file the appropriate paperwork, including an incident report detailing how you found Buddy and the steps you've taken since. Additionally, coordinating with animal control to ensure Buddy's health and vaccination records are up to date is essential." Lisa listened attentively, taking mental notes of the required actions. "Understood, Captain. I'll begin the process immediately and ensure all protocols are followed." As she left the office, Lisa felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was determined to navigate the bureaucratic procedures to make Buddy's place in her life official. Over the next few days, Lisa diligently completed the necessary paperwork. She filed an incident report detailing her discovery of Buddy, his condition at the time, and the care she had provided since. She also scheduled a comprehensive veterinary examination to update Buddy's health records and vaccinations. During a departmental meeting, Lisa was given the opportunity to present Buddy's story. Standing before her colleagues, she recounted Buddy's journey, from being a trained rescue dog who became lost after a tragic accident, to his time as a stray and finally, to his new life as her loyal companion. "Buddy's resilience and unwavering spirit have not only touched my life but have also become an inspiration to our community," Lisa concluded, her voice filled with emotion. "I am committed to providing him with the loving home he deserves." The room was silent for a moment before applause erupted. Officers who had initially been skeptical now approached Lisa with words of support and encouragement. The community, upon hearing Buddy's story, rallied behind Lisa, offering assistance and expressing their admiration for her dedication. With the backing of her colleagues and the community, Lisa successfully completed all the formalities required for Buddy's adoption. Captain Reynolds commended her for her thoroughness and commitment to doing things the right way. "You've set a commendable example, Lisa," he remarked. "Buddy is fortunate to have found a home with you." Lisa smiled, gratitude evident in her eyes. "I'm the fortunate one, Captain. Buddy has brought immeasurable joy and purpose into my life." From that day forward, Buddy was not just a part of Lisa's personal life but was also embraced by the entire department and community. His presence at community events and his role in assisting Lisa on duty became a symbol of hope and resilience. Lisa's adherence to proper procedures reinforced the importance of following protocols, even when driven by compassion. Her actions ensured that Buddy's adoption was not only a personal victory but also a testament to the values of integrity and responsibility upheld by the department. Buddy's journey from a lost rescue dog to a cherished member of the community highlighted the profound impact of empathy and determination. Together, Lisa and Buddy exemplified the strength found in second chances and the unbreakable bond between humans and their canine companions. With Buddy officially adopted, Lisa felt a profound sense of fulfillment as she drove home from the final meeting with her department. Buddy sat proudly in the passenger seat, his ears perked up and his amber eyes gazing out at the passing scenery. It was as if he understood that this moment marked a new chapter in their lives. In the weeks that followed, Buddy proved to be more than just a companion. He became Lisa's steadfast partner. Whether it was patrolling the quiet streets of Mountain View or responding to calls, Buddy was by her side, his sharp instincts and calm demeanor making him an invaluable asset. Though he wasn't an official canine officer, Buddy's presence often diffused tense situations and brought comfort to those in distress. One snowy afternoon, Lisa and Buddy responded to a call about a lost child in a nearby forest. The family, frantic with worry, explained that their young son had wandered off while playing in the snow. Lisa knelt beside Buddy, her hand resting gently on his head. "Okay, Buddy, let's find him." Buddy sprang into action, his nose to the ground as he sniffed for the boy's trail. Within minutes, he barked, signaling that he had picked up a scent. Following his lead, Lisa and the search team found the child huddled under a tree, cold but unharmed. The boy's parents embraced him tearfully, thanking Lisa and Buddy profusely. Buddy, ever humble, simply wagged his tail and licked the boy's face, eliciting a giggle. Inspired by her experience with Buddy, Lisa began organizing community programs focused on animal welfare. Partnering with local shelters and rescue organizations, she and Buddy visited schools to teach children about the importance of treating animals with kindness and respect. Buddy quickly became a local celebrity, his calm and gentle demeanor winning over even the most hesitant of children. During one school visit, a little girl approached Lisa, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Was Buddy always this brave?" she asked. Lisa knelt down, smiling warmly. "Buddy has always been brave, but he's also been through a lot. He's a reminder that everyone deserves a second chance." Buddy, as if understanding the sentiment, rested his head on the girl's lap, earning a delighted laugh. Moments like these reaffirmed Lisa's belief in the power of kindness and redemption. As Buddy's story spread, it became a source of inspiration for many in Mountain View and beyond. Local newspapers featured articles about the once lost dog who had found not just a home, but a purpose. People began reaching out to Lisa, sharing their own stories of rescuing animals or seeking advice on adoption. Lisa often found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her and Buddy together. She remembered the cold night when she first saw him, a fragile figure on the side of the road. Now he stood tall and strong, a living testament to resilience and the transformative power of love. Lisa's work as a police officer took on a new dimension with Buddy by her side. Together, they not only upheld the law but also brought hope to those they encountered. Whether it was comforting a frightened child, reuniting a lost pet with its owner, or simply being a source of joy in the community, Buddy had become an integral part of Lisa's life and work. One evening, as Lisa sat by the fireplace with Buddy curled up at her feet, she reflected on how much had changed since that fateful winter night. Her life, once routine and predictable, was now filled with purpose and meaning. "You saved me as much as I saved you," she whispered, running her fingers through Buddy's soft fur. He opened one eye and wagged his tail, as if to say he understood. As snow fell gently outside, Lisa and Buddy prepared for another day of work and outreach. Their story, though deeply personal, had become a beacon of hope for the community. People who had once overlooked strays now saw them as beings deserving of love and care. The bond between Lisa and Buddy showed that sometimes, the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. Lisa had no doubt that meeting Buddy had changed her life. He had taught her about resilience, trust, and the profound impact of second chances. Together, they had created a legacy of kindness, one that would continue to inspire long after the snow melted and the seasons changed. Buddy wasn't just a dog, He was a partner, a hero, and a reminder that love could transform even the most broken souls. As they stepped out into the crisp morning air, Lisa looked down at Buddy, who stood confidently by her side. "Ready for another adventure?" she asked. Buddy barked in response, his tail wagging with enthusiasm. With a smile, Lisa opened the car door, and they drove off toward whatever challenges and joys awaited them next. Together, they were unstoppable. If this story moved you, we'd love to hear from you. Share your own experiences of kindness, second chances, or a special bond you've had with an animal in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to make a difference and show compassion to those in need. Let's create a community filled with love and hope, one story at a time. May God bless you and your family, guiding us to act with compassion and love in all that we do.